Hello everyone, welcome to part 2 of this replay between Dimaga and Satini here on Kulas Ravine. I'm going to go ahead and start this back up. Sounds like the Overlords and a Thor attempting to take down these destructible rocks. I really like the positioning of these missile turrets. These missile turrets, Mutalisks generally like to fly along a straight path along the sides and along the back, so the missile turrets are right in that position. And then Satini would normally use the army to counter anything that tries to come in from that front. A second Thor now being produced, Mutalisks realizing that they really can't do anything there, deciding to pull away. Hellions or one drone trying to move over here to try to set up a hatchery over here at this high yield mineral location. Not going to work out. We now have 7 Mutalisks. So 7 Mutalisks moving on out. Perhaps going to start focusing down that Viking. So yeah, one Viking very low on hit points. There it goes. Now taken down. And the Mutalisks of Dimaga perhaps will give a little bit of map control over to Dimaga. Back over here, we still have those Hellions perhaps trying to move over to that front door. Hellions quickly scouting out that hatchery, deciding not to try to take it down. Mutalisks over here still doing a little bit of scouting of his own. One medevac making sure that these destructible rocks are not being taken down just quite yet, as the Thor now making its way over there. The siege tanks now being built, and also siege tech being finished up as well. Production-wise, not much to really talk about. We are getting the centrifugal hooks for the Zerg players, so I believe that's the. Where is that? I thought I saw that for a second. Anyways, back over here. One Zergling watching over here on this front door. Satini still getting a supply lock. Perhaps he should try to use some of that call down ability in order to relieve that supply locking. Engineering bay, armory still in play, and now Zerglings. Zerglings should not be destroying themselves against these destructible rocks. There's a greater cause than just trying to take down these units. But perhaps he's going to burrow these banelings up here on this high ground, and that would be a fairly ingenious play. Terran players really like to push on in and try to harass this expansion over here. So if banelings are hidden underneath and you can individually detonate them, you can really just take them out very easily. Banelings moving very quickly on the creep, and in comes one Thor, 2 Thors with medevacs, and now in comes some Mutalisks as well. Those Mutalisks, however, not going to be a very strong counter towards those units, trying to focus down those Thors. One Thor very low on hit points, and now Dimaga should really be trying to split up the rest of those Thors, and now the second Thor getting taken down. So very interesting play. Not quite sure how that's going to work. Also, spine crawlers need to be positioned at least in this position here, or even here, in order to make sure that no siege tanks try to siege up onto that high ground. Mutalisks was doing a little bit of more harassment here, but missile turrets and Marines able to fend off that attack there. Siege tank able to shoot back, and now unable to really destroy this back door over here. Also going to put in some bunkers and more missile turrets as well. So Satini really fortifying this position, going to make it very difficult for Dimaga to really try to push in on that high ground. So both players now running off of 2 bases, or will be running off of 2 bases fully in a moment. Dimaga sitting on 37 harvesters compared to Satini's 30. Back over here, hatchery, taking a look at the unit count, we're currently running off of 2 queens, and I'm really wishing that Dimaga would either use more creep tumors or do something a little bit more, just because the movement speed of those banelings are so much more deadly when they are on creep. The volatile burst dealing 35 damage towards those light units, so Hellions and Marines not really wanting to fight against those units. Now running off of 3 barracks, so it's going to be a 3 racks build, 2 of them with tech labs, 1 of them with nothing, as it's part of that front door build here. And now we have a reactor being built down on the starport over here, also putting down, not sure why there's a supply depot there, in order to, I guess, protect this front door just a little bit further. More supply depots, still production, no one really doing anything. Combat shield research and stim pack being researched, so more of an infantry game perhaps by Satini. Not really getting any of the Vespian geysers over here on this high ground expansion. that Satini is currently guarding, and really no armor or weapons upgrade coming in from anyone. So it says another hatchery, a hatchery being placed down by Dimaga. So this high yield mineral hatchery now being placed down, and Satini has really has to be careful. He's kind of confined in his base. And this is one of those instances where Zerg, if you let them expand, they will expand and then take control of the map, able to just constantly throw more and more units at you. Also, curious as to why there is not any infestation pit. Oh yeah, central fugal hooks are for the baneling movement speed. That was my confusion. Now drones being transferred from the main base over here to this hatchery, and now the income discrepancy should be much larger momentarily. It looks as though Satini has a lot of mules that were called down, and now here's a fairly large army. So this large army may try to push on in through the and now really has to be careful. I don't know, does not see any of these banelings here. So now are also some mutalisks there. So this should be fairly interesting how this is all going to work out. Mutalisks finally sees them, and now in come these units. Banelings coming in as well, going to start splashing, taking down the whole entire medevac, or the infantry army without that medevac support. So that's very, very difficult. But Satini losing, or Dimaga losing a lot of his army here. And now Zerg is going to be doing a quick surround and should be able to finish off the rest of this army fairly easily. Marines trying to come in to resupport. Oh, nice Thor drop on this high ground. And that Thor protected off there will be able to fight back even further. Dimaga holding on with a very small army, only 625 minerals, as the command center now being lifted off, or is that being built there? Not quite sure. It looks like, yeah, command center is going to be lifted off and then perhaps dropped to be a planetary fortress. So both players are going to be running off of one high yield mineral expansion. I really wish the high yield mineral expansions also gave a little bit more gas, or at least had a higher cap on the gas as well. Perhaps even a third Vespine geyser, enabling, or giving a little bit more of an incentive towards these high yield minerals. These high yield minerals, all it really allows you to do is mine with 6 less drones at a location, and they are fairly exposed. So I don't know how beneficial that truly is. 6 less drones. I guess it's like constantly having a mule, so that is fairly powerful. But for the amount of exposure and how much time and energy it takes to hold off these locations. Anyways, now we have medevacs now moving on into the main base. Dimaga does not have the movement upgrades for those overlords. And this is continuing to be just a very uphill battle now, moving on in. Destructible rocks also getting taken in as well. Production-wise, Mutalisks and Banelings being hatched over here. So I'm really curious to see how this is all going to work out. Satini now moving in with a 3,600 mineral army, and now perhaps going to try to take down some of these units. Banelings going to try to roll on in, able to sacrifice themselves into a lot of those Marauders, but those Marauders are not light units. So those Marauders were able to take the brunt of that damage, while those Marines were able to continue to survive. So very nice play, making sure that those Marauders took a majority of that Baneling splash damage as opposed to those Marines. Now, if Satini does not really want to engage at this stage, Planetary Fortress still down, more missile turrets up, so Satini is guarding this expansion very well. Going to be very difficult, and Dimaga really needs to change up the strategy. Zerg cannot win off of Mutaling alone, and even with Banelings, this is not going to be enough. Thors are in play. One Thor in play, a couple medevacs, large number of Marines, and now Vikings even joining in. So the unit combination of Satini is simply superior. 120 food army versus 137. Stay tuned for part 3 of this replay between Satini and Dimaga here on Kulas Ravine. Oops. Oh, still recording. Oh well. Won't edit it. My mistakes.